So,
That's cool.
well, why don't we just start, mate? Why don't we just start? Because I'm just going to ask him all this shit anyway.
That's
'Cause
true.
It's interesting, right?
Yeah, it's
Do you remember
cool.
when I seen you in Bali about a year and a half ago?
Mate, I was saying to David, I said, I'm fucking pretty sure I've run into fucking Zach. Like, we were on camera somewhere. And you were like, hey, mate. I was like, hey.
I was like, fuck, that looks like someone I know. And you're like, you're a Kiwi boy? And I was like, yeah.
That's
like,
right. That's exactly it.
Yeah,
That's right. Fucking too funny. Yeah, we both were like, hey, yeah.
So we'll just keep it kind of organic, I reckon. Zach.
Yeah, let's just go with the flow, bro.
But
we just go off the fucking.
I'll do a bit of an intro and then we'll just freewheel it and just chill
Yeah, sounds good.
with us.
Right, you ready to go, bro?
I'm ready.
Okay, mate. Chop in.
I'm ready. We'll cut straight to it, Matthew. So, here at the brink, we love a happy ending, but Zac Guildford's story is far from straightforward. It's a tale of dizzying highs and devastating lows, of triumph and loss, struggle and redemption. Once a teenage prodigy who fulfilled a promise to his father by becoming an All Black, Zac's rise to the top of world rugby came alongside profound personal tragedy. His father's passing during the Under-20s World Cup in Japan accelerated a journey defined by grief, addiction and ultimately resilience. By 23, Zac had already worn the black jersey, conquered the Crusaders, Hurricanes and the rugby world, but off the field he was battling demons that fame and success couldn't quite silence. He's spoken candidly about turning to alcohol, drugs and even gambling to numb the pain of loss and the pressures of elite sport. Misconceptions about addiction clouded his struggles, and a 2013 stint in rehab while with the Crusaders marked just one of many attempts to confront the storm within. From geographical escapes to financial devastation, a fraud conviction and the crushing lows of home detention, Zac's journey to redemption is as raw as it is inspiring. So it's with great pleasure that we welcome Zac to the brink. Zac, thank you for being here and trusting us with your story. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, hey, bro. Like, gee whiz, just listening to that, you really kicked a goal. Because how old are you, Zac?
35. Yeah.
35.
You guys know more than me about I do.
Yeah. So, but like, just
all out there.
Just listening to that. So you were obviously really close to your dad.
Yeah. We grew
tribe.
up. Well, he was everything I wanted to be. You know, he was a hard-working man. He was a hard man on the rugby field and a hard man off the field, and he, did everything. That he was everything I wanted to be, and to lose him at a young age was shithouse, and something I just wasn't prepared for.
Wow. So he's. Well, it must be really hard to talk about this, but I'm just thinking, like, you're playing a game. Is it senior rugby or Colts?
With Under-20 World Cup in Japan.
So, so it's almost senior rugby, right? Like it's the highest level of youth rugby, right? Like it's like the New Zealand Colts, right? You're cracking it, you're kicking ass. So to come off the field, did you have any indication? Did you have any warning? You just came off the field and your father had passed away.
Yeah, well, we'd just beaten England in the final. I think we won by about 20 points, and I got a couple of dots. So, I was obviously, I was pretty happy. Yeah, I was looking forward to digging in with the boys, because we sacrifice a lot during, I think 6 to 8 week camp, and everyone buys in, and we stay off the grog, and then we beat England in the final. We're looking forward to a big party, and I was lining up for my medal actually, and I looked up into the stand just as I was about to walk up and receive my medal, and I see my mum crying, and she was I just knew something had gone wrong with my dad, and she was waving me up, and he'd pretty much dropped dead of a heart attack 10-15 minutes after we won the Under-20 World Cup in 2009 in Japan.
See, like I can't even imagine. I can't even to imagine that must have just been even just thinking about it now, it brings quite strong emotions to me. So, and you were obviously super tight with your father, so that just must have really knocked your socks off. But were you? I'm just going to dive in. Did you have troubles with drink before then, or did it start after that?
No, I had trouble. Yeah. So I did. Yeah, like I was never someone to do something at sort of half-assed. So anything I did was sort of either at a hundy or not at all. So that sort of that worked well for me on the
same.
Yeah, so that worked well for me on the rugby field, but off the field, I'd get tanked, I'd get on the punt. I wasn't into drugs by this age. I was only sort of 19, 20.
19, yeah.
But yeah, everything I was doing it at 110%. I wanted to be the man at it. So I've become pretty good, but pretty shit at drinking at the same time.
But did your father, was your father aware of, was he the one that gave you, try to instill discipline in you and all that sort of stuff? Was he aware of that you were 100% on everything?
Yeah, my dad was a hard man. He'd instilled discipline, from a young age. He wasn't a big communicator. It was, stop being a sook, get on with it. It was a kick up the arse sort of thing. So when I got to my teenage years, he wasn't really someone I'd confide in with confidence, because we weren't really communicators as such. We sort of Dad had that old school mentality. It was just sort of harden up or get on with it. So I did have these addiction problems from a young age, but I wanted to keep them to myself, because firstly I didn't want my family or anyone to know really. And when he passed, it was just the handbrake was right off.
Wow. But sorry mate, but that would have been a coping mechanism?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, the grog definitely was. We didn't grow up really talking about our feelings. My upbringing was quite old school. It was good. My parents had my back. They made sure we had everything. My mum, she's more the communicator, but I don't want to talk to mum. We want to be cool like dad and go and play rugby and get on the piss. So it was the wheels were definitely spinning before dad passed away. So yeah.
I've heard you talk, Zac, about how alcohol or drugs maybe are something that helped maybe even keep you alive. And we've spoken to Mike King about this and misconceptions around alcohol and addiction, and how he describes drugs or alcohol, or the use of at the beginning for people anyway, as almost like a life jacket that keeps them just their head above water as long as they need to, and hopefully, God willing, they get to a point where they can then get external resources, get external help and that sort of stuff. Is that what you mean when you describe it as having kept you alive at times?
Yeah, pretty much. So I guess, I didn't have the tools outside of addiction to deal with shit at the time. When I grew up, there was no such thing as mindfulness or meditation or seeking help, because if you seek help, you're a pussy, and that wasn't cool. So when I talk about addiction keeping me alive, it was not something that I really wanted to do as such, but for that moment, for that, I don't know, 4 to 6 to however long, 12 hours, however long the bender went, it was some peace in my head and peace away from the chaos. And I could hang out with guys outside of rugby who didn't know me as Zac the rugby player. So it was quite a peaceful but chaotic place to be at the time.
Yeah, because you were like a big deal, right? So how old were you? You're 35, so I'm 21 years older than you. So when you were in your prime, I was in New Zealand working away. But I can remember you were the big gun, right? You were the big gun. You were smoking tries, lengths of field tries, and you were you were almost the first player picked, right? You were that explosive. You had that raw pace.
Yeah, I didn't really see myself in that light, if you know what I mean, because I got that harsh inner critic. So anything I did on the rugby field, if I got 2 tries, I'd want to get 3 tries, and then of course from a young age, we had the media who was building me up, and you try not to read into it, but then by the age of 20 I'd made the ABs, and my dad had passed away, and there'd been a lot of shit that had gone on, but the public and media were definitely building me up, and I guess subconsciously I did feel
you start believing it.
You start believing it, and then I stopped training as hard as I would from a young age, because you think everything's just going to be easy, but that's when you take the foot off, shit starts going a bit west. Well, it did for me anyway.
Oh, mate, he goes, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
It's almost like you were gifted, you had too much talent. And when you've got too much talent, like you can bluff your way through it and you keep going, and you're not as good as you were, and then you're drinking and doing all the bits and pieces, so you can't be arsed training, right? And it's just a slippery slope, eh?
Yeah, well, I worked, like rugby was my life from whenever I could walk, crawl or talk, so I worked really hard, and up until the age of early 20s. But as you said, then it come easy, and I had all this talent, and talent doesn't last forever, and the hard work that I was putting in started to disappear, and then other players started to catch up, and I was falling into these addictive tendencies. So it was
And it's a problem, I guess, when it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? You might have all the talent in the world, as Matthew said, but if you yourself inside, it's this imposter syndrome that everyone talks about these days. If you're not believing it, once something negative happens, or you have a bad game, or then you're like, it's confirmation, right? You're like, no, it's true. I am this, subpar player that I thought I was, and you start sort of like leaning into that. Is that what happened?
Yeah, definitely. Like I was always in the pursuit of excellence, but there's no such thing as perfection. So my inner critic would be picking my game to pieces, and then off the field I wasn't training as hard, so I'd be beating myself up there, and then things just started to unravel pretty quickly, and then by the age of 23, 24 I was off to France thinking $500,000 contract would save my life, but the problems just kept spiralling, snowballing.
So I didn't realise that. So at 20 you made the All Blacks. You were in the All Blacks for like 3 years, yeah?
Yeah, 2009 to 12, yeah.
And then you just went, I'm out of here.
Yeah, well, I didn't. It was the time 2012 was when Julian Severe come on the scene, so he was obviously pretty good, and then 2013 I didn't make it, so 2014 I was like, I'm out of here.
Okay, so and so from that period, like, so when you first made the All Blacks, you sort of been training hard, but then for the next couple of years you took your foot off the gas, right? Because you were blowing people away, but you were on the hammer. Yeah. Did any of your coaches, like your Canterbury, who was your Canterbury coach?
At the Crusaders we had Todd Blackadder.
I was going to say, did he recognise that you were in a bit of trouble? Did anybody try to help you, or
Crusaders, right?
Yeah,
they put you in rehab. Is that right?
Yeah. So I had a big night out on the piss in 2013, and gear and other things, and then ended up whacking a couple of dudes I can't even fight. So that's the sort of stuff that the piss would make me do, and then ended up in rehab in 2013. So I got all the support at the time that I guess I was sort of one of the first cases of, what the hell do we do, because I was just all over the show. So I had the support from NZRU, from Gilbert Anoka, the All Black coaches, Todd Blackadder, but it was just it was hard, to dive deep into self at that young age and realise I've got to drop all these addictions. I just wasn't ready.
Yeah. It's funny.
You can have all the help you want, right? But it's at the end of the day, it's me.
Yeah, that's funny that you say that. Hey, like, you can be pointed in the right direction. It's that old adage, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, right?
Yeah, even if they tried to throw my head in, I wouldn't have had a slurp, It was just, I'll go well.
At least it was piss.
yeah, exactly. I'd go well for I'd stay off the grog. Like, I gave genuine attempts. When I got out of rehab, I was clean for 8 or 9 months, and then I think we lost the rugby.
It, right?
Yeah. Like, I was going to AA and I was doing that sort of stuff, but then I got complacent, and those practices sort of dropped away, and then I think we lost a big game or something, playing for Hawke's Bay, and next thing you know, I'm out on a boat on a 2-day bender, and there goes 8 or 9 months, and we're back snowballing again. But I gave genuine attempts. I just I just couldn't really grasp the theme of overcoming addiction until the last couple of years.
It's funny that that you say that, like, because I'm the same. Like, I'm 100% all in or all out, right? But then when you drop out, like say I haven't drunk for 9 months or whatever, and then you have a little drink, and you smash yourself up over it. You're like, and you go, right, I've started again. I'm just gonna rip him. Yeah. That's the mindset, right? Because you're like, no, I've knackered those 9 months. I'm pissed off with myself. And so instead of just going, hey, I've had a fuck up. I've stuffed it up. It's okay. I'm allowed to. I'm just going to get back on the wagon again. Yeah. But you don't. No. You're so hard on yourself. You're like, I'm such a.
Well, it's like you surrender to the oblivion, right? You're just like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go all in.
When really, it's like, hey, everybody makes a mistake. But you just don't have that. For some reason, you're so disappointed in yourself that you just go, bugger it. I might as well just tear in.
Yeah. Well, it's like, self-sabotage, really. Like I already thought I was a piece of shit, and then I go and do something I really don't want to do. So I'm like, well, I might as well really emphasise the fact that I'm a piece of shit, and you do it at
prove everyone else
because,
right.
Because that way I don't have to think about my fuck up. We can just continue being numb.
Yeah, bro, it's so true. Like, it's so true. I just get the feeling like if you had have had somebody there, like I think if you had had someone there, like on a full-time basis, because like addiction is fucking hard, and the only person that can get you through addiction is yourself. But I think when you've got somebody like right next to you, like
I disagree.
Or you do? I don't know. Like if I had someone. Like if it was him and I, and we were both pussies, and we looked at each other, and I said, "No, mate, fuck you and I, we're going to pull each other out of the shit."
No,
I'd do it. You don't reckon?
Yeah. I don't think so. I don't think your. That's just me. I don't think your sobriety can be tied to another person's, and they say that that's dangerous because if you're doing that, you can go really well, and if someone wobbles, it gives the other person permission to go, "Oh well."
Is that what you've learned, or that's what you just believe?
This is what I've been told. It doesn't mean it's true, but that's what I believe to be true. And I don't think it's about even if your friend wants as much as they possibly can to support you, be there. You can't be there every waking hour, that's right? True. And if you or me or you or as the addict wants to misbehave, you're going to sneak away and do it, and all that happens is the lies and the duplicity comes roaring to the front again. That's what I think.
I'm sort of, I guess, in the middle of both of your guys' opinions, because I've got a really close mate who's my business partner, Jake, and he's been sober for 4 years now, and we've been mates for 2 or 3 years, and we actually live together back in New Zealand, and it's quite beneficial to know that he's never going to drink again, so it's quite good to be able to sit there with someone at times rather than sitting there alone, if you know what I mean. And
that's what I reckon.
Yeah, my partner doesn't drink a lot either, so it sort of makes it a little bit easier rather than being surrounded by the chaos a lot.
But here's a question though,
but it's got to come from within, obviously.
Yeah, but hypothetically, say your friend and business partner, God forbid, say he were to wobble and fall off the wagon, right? Like, you can't put your own sobriety on him. So say that were to happen, could that be you'd be like, well, if there's no hope for him, there's no hope for me. If somebody who's done it, for, like I've done it for 14 years, if somebody were tied to me and I failed, then they're going to be like, well, fuck, if he's fallen off, there's no hope for me, so I'm just going to throw myself into it. So that's why I think unless it's like you're in it 100% for yourself and only yourself, that's my little take.
No, I agree with you. I just feel like even though you would have had that support, like you would have been probably the first All Black that was openly outed as you had an issue with drink, right? Yeah. You would have been the first one. So for New Zealand rugby, we were definitely professional then, eh? Was it professional then? Not quite.
2000.
What was that? Yeah, it was professional.
Yeah, professional. Yeah.
Yeah, it was professional. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so you're getting
starting to make me feel ancient.
Oh, you are.
Doesn't bode well for us then.
Not as ancient as me. But the thing is like, I just feel like, so you would have been like almost like the guinea pig. Like they wouldn't have known what to do with you. They would have been like, holy hell, because all the anybody that's anybody in sport in New Zealand with talent in rugby or league or rugby anyway, there was nobody that had issues with drinking. Like that had substance abuse issues.
There would have been, just not public.
There would have been, but just not public, right? So you would have been the first person that was just openly out there fucking having a good time, and they would have been like, whoa. So it was almost like they would have been thrust into the role, but not really knowing what the hell to do.
Yeah,
does that make sense as well?
Yeah. I know. Well, yeah, I remember going into the misconduct hearings with my agent, and for about the third or fourth time, then thinking I was going to get sacked, and they didn't sack me. So I didn't. I don't think they really knew what to do, but then neither did I. So yeah.
So there was no consequence. That's what we say. Like that's what I say. Like if you keep being allowed to get away with something, and you see that there's no consequence, like even if they had have said, "Hey, look, mate, you're done for a year. You can't play rugby for a year. We're going to sack you. That's it. You're over." That might have shocked you into like, "Holy shit! I've got no income." They might have given you like a stipend or whatever, but I've got no income. I'm stuffed. I can't play rugby. I can't play rugby. That's it. It's finished for a year. Yeah. But because there was no consequence, you keep going into those things, and they'd let you off. You're like, "Oh, fucking sweet."
Yeah, 100%. I think the first consequence was I went to Rarotonga, and it was a dickhead there. I've told that story, but I got stood down. This is 2000 after the 2011 World Cup. So I started 2012 Super Season for 3 pre-season games and 1 competition game, and then obviously when I went to rehab in 2013, I missed sort of the first 6 weeks of the Crusaders season, but I knew there was always going to be something after that punishment, if you know what I mean. And it's like when I left the Crusaders, I went to France on a $500,000 contract, and I just thought those opportunities would keep coming up, but by the time I was 30, I played my last professional game.
Yeah, just going to a question that probably would normally be at the end of a chat like this. What, looking back at that particular time in your life, Zac, what advice would you give to that person right there in that time? Like, would you say you got to go through the rock bottom that was coming? Would you say do this to circumvent it or prevent it? Like, because there are people out there who will be listening who might know somebody who's where you were, or they themselves are. So, like, is there something you could say that would be like, maybe if you'd thought like this, done that, you wouldn't have had to, really deteriorate to the point that you did, as we all did?
Well, yeah, I know my problem was just around self-awareness. Like, I wasn't very self-aware of what was going on, obviously, and I think it'd just be for someone, as if you're 23 and 24-year-old that is struggling, recognise what your poison is. Mine was the punt, piss and drugs, and really get the support and help, and lean in with vulnerability, because there are, I guess, people out there who can help, but there's also, this new generation that are coming through that, aren't massive on drinking, that aren't massive on partying. So I guess times are sort of changing a wee bit, but it'd just be to recognise your poison and then do your best to find the resources to help support yourself from staying away from that poison.
It's so hard though, like with self-awareness, right? Like, how do you...
Yeah, but I think, like back in Zac's time, and definitely back in my time, there was just no, like I said before, it would have been so foreign. They would have been looking at him like going, what the hell? Like, they would not have known how to handle it, right? And like, even now, like with all the, there's so much help now, like online, just all that stuff. There's just so much help. But in the end, it still all comes down to you. That's the only person that can get you out of it. And that's what I'd say to anybody, is like, you can dress it up however you like, but in the end, and it's a cliche, but you're the one that's got to get up in the morning and look at yourself in the mirror, and that guy that's looking back at you, or that girl that's looking back at you, that's the only person that can affect real change in your life. It really is. And that's why I guess they say you've got to hit rock bottom, right?
Yeah. So following one with the All Blacks, you went off on the contracts, and they often call that, and you might correct me, but like geographical running. So like, I'm sure a lot of it was about the money, and a lot of it was just about new place, new people, new circumstances, wipe the slate clean and everything will be better. But as we know, with people like, certainly you and I, Matthew doesn't call himself an addict, which is fine. We find those things again, and we find those reasons to drink or take drugs or whatever. Would you deem those? You went off to Japan, you did all these other things. Was that like a geographical running for you?
Oh yeah, I was the ultimate running man. Yeah, so I'll be sprinting away from my problems. I think I'll just sprint to that next destination. I'll pick up $500,000 and my life will be okay again. I'll give up the piss, I'll give up the grog, I'll be in a new environment, clean slate, and that might last for 3 or 4 months, maybe 6 months max. But I soon realised after that, because I wasn't putting in the self-work, that all the demons just come flowing back in, and the novelty of the new place, new team, lots of cash soon wears off, and you're back, trying to fight demons, and I guess going back to what feels safe at the time. And for me, it was addiction, and it didn't matter if it was New Zealand, France, or Australia. I still found the same substances that I thought were, giving me peace.
Yeah, it's nuts, isn't it? Which tells me anyway, and you may disagree, that it's always it's not the external stuff that's really making us drink or pick up or whatever. It isn't. It's not necessarily a relationship. Those are excuses. Those are triggers. Whatever. But there's demons or this void or this this abyss within us that needs to be filled. We're filling it with whatever, and that we carry that with us wherever we go. It's nuts, right? It's such a shared experience.
Yeah.
So, sorry, Zach. Sorry, carry on.
No, I was just going to carry on from there. And I was one of those people that I got diagnosed with ADHD a few years ago. That could never sit in discomfort. If I was sitting there, bored, I'd have to do something. And generally, that'd be off with the boys on the piss or the grog. And I think now, I don't know if it's because I'm getting older, it's just being able to sit with self and sit in that discomfort for longer periods of time and realise and process what the fuck is actually going on upstairs for me,
Yeah, 100%. That ADHD, it's got a few of us.
It creeps up a lot, but it's that impulsivity, but it's always like that dopamine kick, it's like we've got to find stimulation all the time, which is, I guess, where what is really interesting to me that I'd like to speak to you about is the gambling side of things, because that must have been really a big part of the ADHD, but it's also addiction. So I don't know anything about gambling as an addictive trait.
Yeah.
How does that work? What was it for you?
I grew up around it, like the three main things growing up in my life were sort of rugby, the horse racing and beer. So as a young kid, I guess subconsciously, I wanted to become really good at those things because my family was, my dad was, my uncles were, my granddad, everyone in my family did it. So that's what I wanted to be good at. But the gambling sort of, that was my poison, but I didn't want anyone to know because I wasn't very good at it, and I was always fucking broke, and I didn't want anyone to know I was the broke ass All Black who's supposed to be rich. So that started from a young age. Like I remember being at the TAB of the old man when I was like 5 or 6 and filling out his tickets for him, or finding $1 on the ground and having a side punt with him. So it was something I really loved from a young age. And then when I could start earning money, like especially as a rugby player, it was something that I just slipped into because I've been doing it from with my family from such the age of a bloody toddler pretty much. And I thought it was bloody cool, but it gave me, as it got progressively worse, and it went from $10 to $100 to $1,000 to $10,000 to I don't think I reached 100,000 in punts, not on a one-off, but it just gave me the escape away from the real world. I was in my own little stimulated world of trying to win money.
When you lost, see, this is like this is what I like. The come down, like when you punt on a, and you're watching the race and you punted 10 grand or 5 grand or whatever, and you lose, like, how does that feel? Like that would just rip I've just never had that impulse, and I love all things like that are risky, but that stuff I'm just like nah. And
it was shit. There were some mornings where I'd have to be at training at 7:30, between 7 and 8 in the morning. I'm up punting on bloody volleyball and basketball till 4 in the morning, getting 3 hours sleep. Might have lost 10, 20, sometimes 30k, and then you go to training. You're not going to tell your mates that, so you just got to slap the mask back on and pretend everything's all right and get on with it. But it was soul destroying. There'd been some games I'd run out and I was 10 grand out of pocket, and trying to play rugby when you're when you've done that is it's soul destroying. But I just I guess I had the never give up attitude until I hit rock bottom and nearly ended up in jail or dead.
But it's just such a weird addiction, because it's not, you think addiction, it's a substance, right? So you're like, oh well, you put this in my body has a physical dependence, but you can't say that with gambling, right? Because there's not something in there like affecting you chemically, except for the buzz you're getting in your head where your brain's creating more dopamine or whatever. So I imagine it is probably more misunderstood than alcohol and drugs, because people are like, well, just stop, don't go. It's not like you're going through withdrawals or anything like that. Like, is that a lot of what you faced when you were speaking to people or asking for help or trying to stop? Like, how did that work? 'Cause I know nothing about it.
I went to my first I went to my first Gamblers Anonymous meeting about 2012 in Christchurch. So it was a sort of 12 year battle before 11 year battle before I could trying to give up, before I could actually give up finally. And it was just crazy. Like, as a addicted gambler, you can't actually see the physical signs. Like, if you're a druggie or alcoholic, you can see that someone's fucked up. But as a gambler, it's the silent addiction. And for me, it was just complete escapism. It didn't matter if I won $10 million. That would have never been enough, because I still needed to escape from my own head.
Yeah, so it was just purely that, the adrenaline rush of you putting money down, and if you won, like, euphoria. If you lost, it doesn't matter, I'll just have another punt.
Yeah, pretty much. I'd just have another punt, or we got paid monthly as rugby players, so some months were pretty long for me. I've been out of pocket by the second week of the month, and I'm earning decent coin. So the stress that brings, especially when you're trying to hide it and you don't want anyone to know. It is soul destroying, and it did lead me to suicide ideation on multiple times. But it's a lot more peaceful without that shit in my life these days.
Bro, like, I just can't even imagine, like, the anxiety. The anxiety. So you're a high performing athlete, right? Which is like, on its own, is like full of like tension. You're anxious. You're always on edge, because you've got to perform at the highest level, right? So you've got that, and then you've got all these other things. You've got the drugs, you got the piss, and you got the gambling, right? Which you're hiding. You're trying to hide. And then you've got to go out and perform in front of a whole heap of people on a week. You're like, it's amazing you're even here, bro. Yeah, it really is, mate. Like the mental, like, just the shit you must be a real strong motherfucker, bro. Like, seriously, mate. I tip my hat to you, mate.
There were some days I didn't want to get out of bed and go to training. There's some days I didn't even want to get on the field. But
did you always?
Well, until, as I said, I should have been still playing professional rugby up until almost now, but I played my last professional game at 30 because it finally caught up. All that stress, you can't perform at a high level when you're getting 3 hours sleep, some nights, or most nights, and then you're flushing all your money down the drain, and you're trying to hide that from your mates, and it's just it was just chaos.
Because you like, bro, you could have. So you literally went through your career with a massive elephant on your back. And not many people knew about the alcohol, right? Like, because people knew about the alcohol because you go out and you get on the hammer, and then it's in the papers and blah blah blah. And then after a while, the public go, "Oh yeah, Zac's a pussy," right? Well, Zac's a party guy, rah rah. But then you had all those other things that you were hiding, because nobody knew that you were. I take it you were doing drugs and stuff as well, yeah.
Yeah, by the time I was 21, I was into the Class A drugs.
Yeah. So you're doing that as well, and then so that's keeping you up at night. So you're not getting much sleep, and then you've got that the real kicker underneath, which is the one that's like depleting you of all your money, right? So you've got to go out there, look like you're this hot shot, right? Yeah, mate. You're a great actor, bro.
Yeah.
Sensational actor. Yeah, that's why I take my head off to you.
Real good. But, people did know. Like, the All Black coaches knew by the time, of 2011, 12 that I had this problem, and, they would hint at me, and my close family knew, but, as we've stipulated before, no one's going to save you but yourself. And, I become really good at acting and wearing multiple masks because it was just safer than having to be vulnerable for me at the time.
So how did it all come to a head?
2021. I was helping I moved in with my grandparents, working in suicide prevention down the Wairarapa. I didn't, it was about a year or two after my professional career. I didn't really know what the fuck I was up to. The addiction wheels were still spinning, and I took from my family, my grandfather, and then eventually the police got involved, and I was sentenced to 9 months home D. Long story short, and that was really my rock bottom when I had to look in the mirror and realise that this shit wasn't working for me, and it was either going to be jail or death or sobriety, and I didn't want to die, I didn't want to go to jail. My mates had told me how shit that is, so the other option was to try and get sober, and that's been a journey for the last 3 or so years of ups and downs, and a lot of reward, but a few falls and back on the horse. But yeah, that was my rock bottom.
So you stopped. So you still could have played at 30, or you decided, I'm going to stop?
No, I could have played. So I was over playing. I was 29 at the time, and I got a 2-year contract back in France once more at a second div club, but same shit,
but still good money. Would have been good.
Yeah, it was a couple of $100K. Accommodation.
Mate, it's good wedge.
Yeah, a couple of $100K in France. Accommodation, club car. All we had to pay for was food, really, and whatever we wanted to do outside of rugby. And again, I got a year into that, and couldn't give up the punt and piss, and ended up back home and thought I'd come home and play for Waikato. Still very passionate about rugby, but they didn't pick me, so I went and played some Heartland for East Coast, and that was sort of the end of my professional career as such. And when I realised that there were going to be no more rugby contracts, and I was working as a teacher aide for $20 an hour, coming from 200,000 a year.
That would have been scary, bro, because like all of a sudden you hit a brick wall, the money stops. And I take it you probably didn't have a lot behind you because you punted most of it away.
Nothing. Nothing. I sold my house.
Out of 10 years of professional sport, you finished with nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
Well,
my house,
you never had a manager. Did you have a manager?
Yeah. I had a manager.
We sneak around all those support systems, though, don't we? That's what we do.
And then if they try and if the manager or someone tried to clamp down on me, I just put my running shoes on and run away, because I wasn't ready, and I just couldn't give up the shit, because at the time I thought it was keeping me alive and keeping me safe, and I didn't really want to dive into anything that was going to be too hard, because I didn't want to look within.
Yeah, coming back to your rock bottom, Zac, so there's the gambling kind of all came crashing down around you, there's the fraud with your grandfather, and like all of us who have gone through addiction and come out the other end, you're never cured, I guess, but you leave rehab, you're better, but then you've got to deal with the consequence of how you've trashed your life, and that's, I think, the same for everyone, because you don't wind up in rehab unless you've really fucked stuff up, right? And so how do you come back to building, and I know you're on good terms with your family, I believe, I hope. How do you come back to something like that, where we all do shitty things to our families, so you're not alone, where you've, I guess, taken money, it's been public, there's been, shame brought on the name, all that sort of stuff, like how do you come back to that, and you got to find the strength, I guess, or had to within you to address that, not run away again, how did that happen?
Well, for the first year, I did run away. I just thought my family were were assholes, you know, because they'd gone to the police. I was like, I'd never do that to my family, and but I was still stuck in that victim mentality, and I was still, you know, an addict at this stage. And it wasn't until, you know, I actually went to court, got served my 9 months home deed, got home, had time to reflect, took another deep look in the mirror and realised, you know what, this isn't my family's fault. They might not have shown me the greatest pathway at times, but we all have a choice that we can make. And then I decided to ring my granddad. I think a few days after I was sentenced, and I couldn't stop crying because I finally realised that, you know, I was the problem. It wasn't anyone else, and that was like just a big weight off my shoulders because I could finally take responsibility for what I'd done and realise that no one's going to save me but myself. And that was sort of the click moment.
Did the depression, and you talked about suicide ideation and stuff, did that continue after you sort of cleaned your act up? Like, did that get worse? And how did you deal with that sober, or not having an outlet like gambling? Because for the first time, like all of us, we've got to like face this stuff, deal with the depression, because those emotions don't go away, yet we don't have a crutch to lean on or hide behind. So how was that different?
How's that different? I think I know a big thing for me was being diagnosed with ADHD as well, and obviously looking in the mirror and taking full responsibility and realising that this is all my fault. But I got diagnosed in April 2022, I think it was, with ADHD, and that was a big moment for me because I just thought I was a dickhead. I'm like, why am I making all these dumb decisions all the time, and it just won't stop? And then, you know, realise, with ADHD comes impulsiveness, inattentiveness, inability to, you know, relax, all that other shit that ADHD comes with. But, you know, it's not an excuse. It was just, I'm not a bad person. I've just got some shit that I need to deal with, and there's a solution if I want to work hard enough towards it.
Yeah, isn't that weird? Like, because your ADHD was your superpower as well. Because, you know, like, that gave you the drive when you were young, you know, like, you were like, you'd practice it, because you were super quick, right? Like, you used to just smoke the shit out of people, eh?
At one stage I was.
Oh, mate, he was so fast, it was fucking ridiculous, right? Like, it was just, I used to look at it and go, fuck, well, it's just had a third of that guy's speed. Imagine what I could have done. Like, but that was what was so amazing. Like, you would literally just smoke the shit out of people, right? You'd get a gap and you'd be gone. Anyway, I don't know how we got to that, but
ADHD.
but
once upon a time.
See, there's some ADHD right there, bro. But that's what I'm saying.
Love
you had that ADHD thing going on that you didn't know you had when you were young, but that was the reason why you could focus so much on training and getting, you know, speed, power, you know, skills and all that sort of stuff. And then once that other stuff came along, right, your ADHD jumped into that as well. It's like, yeehaw, let's have some of that, right? So it was, you just went from sort of one thing to the other. And that's why, like, I feel so not sorry for you, because you feel like you're a really good person, mate. You can tell you've got a beautiful heart. And we ran into each other in.
I've got a beautiful heart. You're fucking horrible.
We ran into each other in Bali. We ran into each other in Bali. Remember? We sort of walked past each other because when he said you were coming on, I said I think I've met Zac before. And you walked past me and I walked past you, and we both looked at each other. And I said, yeah, and you were like. And I got you first, right? And I'd never met you, and like, you know, you're way younger than me. But I was like, wow, I know you, you know. And then now just talking to you with all the drama and everything that you've gone through, it feels like to me you've been successful, but this is your time to really make things work. And I feel like you've got the right attitude. You should be broken.
The story's not over.
No, I know. But I'm just saying.
I've done the research.
I feel like he should be broken. But the guy's a fucking. But I don't do any research. I'm just fucking going off.
Yeah, no, but I mean, if you did it your way, like, we'd have finished it at like. Well, you know, you wouldn't know what was going on. So, just on the ADHD thing. So it's an ever.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got you, bro.
It's an ever evolving thing. Like a lot of the people we talk to, a lot of the reading, and you watch all the things on Instagram about ADHD. A lot of people, you go, you get diagnosed. Oh well, that's why I behaved like that. That's why I was an addict. That's why I gambled. That's why I did this and that. And they're like, it's not my fault. You know, it's like it's the ADHD's fault. I'm wired this way. I can't help it. This is my carte blanche to do whatever the fuck I want, which you've clearly not done, and I'd like to think I'm trying not to do. So, like, how did you how have you figured out ways to not hide behind that and then apply yourself and start using your ADHD for positives again, like you did with the rugby or the training and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, well, that's one thing that, when I was diagnosed with ADHD, I didn't want to use it as the excuse either. So that was massive for me. I don't want to say, I did it because I had ADHD, I'm all good. So I got on the medication to start. I don't take the ADHD medication anymore, but that really helped, I guess, get the wheels spinning again in terms of motivation and what was going to be my next passion, etc., etc. So now I run a recruitment company with a couple of friends. Labour hire, so we help
Guildford and Co.
Yeah, Guildford and Co. So we help get individuals into work. So that's now a big passion of mine. Like, I love being able to help people and being able to help people find their purpose and being able to put food on the table, especially when we're in tough economic times back home, is really rewarding. And then getting to manage 30 or 40 staff at one time, it comes with a few headaches, but you also get to help these men, give advice and say, I've done this before, you probably shouldn't go down that route, and it's really rewarding. And then also,
sorry, I was going to say, just so Matthew knows and people listening, you get people into work, but it's also, particularly if I'm not incorrect, it's people hiring individuals with, or finding jobs for people with past challenges. So you're kind of like helping people who are like you, or were like you were. Yeah. Is that right?
Yeah, I'd say if probably a 50-50 split. At times we've got to pick the best candidate for the role, but I'd say 50% of our staff, they've been through hard times, or the young fellas who need some role models in their life, and they can lean on us for that support. So yeah, it's a really rewarding part of my life at the moment. And then when I'm not doing that, I help coach a bit of rugby as well, because that fire still burns, and still get on the field from time to time, but I'm trying.
Do you? Do you?
Well, I did last year. I played a full season, but I'm fucking slow.
Mate, I got a mate. He's like 43, and he used to play prop. You probably played against him, Sims Davis, and he played prop for Waikato.
Oh yeah.
Remember? Do you know?
Yeah. Mate, I don't know him, but I remember him. Yeah.
You know him, right? Like, he still tries to play. And the other day, it was about 6 months ago, he got on, and he just literally he tore the shoulder. Like, it's the worst injury you can have. He tore his shoulder blade or something, like the muscle all down his back, right? And I'm like, bro, so you're 43. You're playing in the front row, you idiot. Thankfully, he hasn't played again. But yeah, so I just can't even imagine that. But you feel like it feels to me like you're in a good spot, bro. You feel like you're really sort of way more, or you're definitely centered, or you feel like you're about ready to like kick some goals.
Yeah, I used to want everything to happen in a hurry. I thought someone was going to come and save me and get me out of the shit, but I realised that none of that stuff is possible now. And only I'm going to save myself, and there is a thing called patience, and sometimes you have to slowly chip away, and things aren't going to happen at night. So I'm in a good spot. I'm very far from perfect, but I don't have the hundreds of people that I used to have around me, but now I've got a few good people around me, and people who actually care about me, for just Zac the person rather than Zac the rugby player. I am in not a bad spot.
Oh, that's awesome, bro. And it's funny you say that. It's funny you say that, though. Like, isn't it amazing how you have so many fair weather friends when you're a rugby player, or when your name's in the spotlight and all that sort of stuff, and then as soon as anything goes wrong, whoosh.
I had like one friend for 2 years after I got in this shit. Like, one friend, and that was Jake.
No way.
Yeah, I remember as I've burnt bridges, so I've let people down as well. So I don't expect everyone to come flooding back and be my friend. But there were. It's just everyone was around, as you guys would know. Like, you got the credit card, you're throwing it over the bar, you get in the bag. You're shouting your mates. You got all the friends in the world, especially, and you scored 3 tries at the Cape Town. So everyone wants to be your mate, but when you're left with nothing and you're at rock bottom, no one's coming to save you, and only the very few will stay around.
It's very true, mate.
Have you been able to rebuild any of the friendships of the ones that went away? Because sometimes they go away because you're just too much. Like I had people who walked away from me because I couldn't blame them.
Yeah, like I guess my family to start.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, like we're on good terms now, so that's massive for me. I still there's still a lot I want to do to sort of make up and show that I have changed, and that I think they all know I'm a good person, but just had some extremely dangerous vices dangling over me. So my family were the first people that I sort of wanted to say sorry to and build bridges with, and then I bump into my rugby mates that I used to play with in the Crusaders and stuff, and and all of them stop, and it's just like the old days, but as like workmates, they sort of become workmates and you only see each other every so often.
Have you found that when you come out, you people are like, oh, it's good, he's doing well, he's made these changes, I'd like to believe him, but do you feel like you've really got to put in the yards and prove yourself, and that just, for me, that takes time and patience on my own part and their part too? Have you found that?
Yeah, it definitely takes time, but I think the only people that we really need to prove it to at the end of the day is ourselves, because if we believe it, if we believe we're changing, then it's going to flow through and other people are going to see it. And, you can't bullshit a bullshitter, so I tried to do that for years, and it's not as authentic when you're going around saying you're sober and you're not. So it's nice to be able to do it now and actually be in that genuine space where I'm actually giving my all to myself, and I think other people are seeing that, and that sort of rubs off.
Feels good, right?
But and saying that, recovery's not a straight line. It's hard. It's not all rainbows and sunshines in recovery land. It comes with trials and tribulations. But as I said before, it's a much better space to be than addiction land.
Is giving back important to you? Because we've talked about Guildford giving people second chances who otherwise wouldn't. Even though in this society where stigma is like lifting on addiction and stuff like that, there are clearly people who aren't getting opportunities because of the past they've had, and you're seeing that. You also do. Tell us about the Broken Movement Trust. That's what's your involvement there, and what's that all about?
So the Broken Movement Trust is a charitable trust that my mate Jake, that I talked about before, he created, and when we met a few years ago, it was a little bit stagnant. So I had run a few programs when I was working in the suicide prevention space to help men overcome trauma. I've always been better at helping other people than myself. So I ran those programs down the Wairarapa alongside Yellow Brick Road. This is going back 3 or 4 years ago. So we managed to obtain some funding and do the same in Christchurch alongside the Broken Movement Trust. So we ran six wānanga, which basically helped men reconnect to self and give alternative tools through kaupapa Māori models of practice to help deal with the trauma that we go through as addicts, or whatever that trauma might be. It might be people, it might be violence, it might be childhood trauma, it might be addiction, wherever it comes from, trauma's trauma.
Exactly.
So that's really rewarding, but unfortunately National has sort of tightened the funding realm up, so we haven't run any of those for the last wee while, but hopefully we'll obtain some funding again to do the same alongside the trust. Yeah.
Where can people find out about it? Can they make donations? Is that sort of stuff?
So we've got the website www.brokenmovement.org, so you can find out more about us there, and you can definitely make donations or get in touch with us to see how you can help if there's something.
We'll put a link up. Service is a big part of recovery, right? Whether it be doing what you're doing, or me helping a muppet over here.
But it's funny that you say that, because like from an outsider looking, I consider myself an outsider, but like a lot of people would sit there and go, oh yeah, I've heard all that before, and then you actually putting the work in, you're doing the stuff, you've created programs, and you actually are helping people. But people are so judgmental, right? So it's almost like you've got to go to the nth degree, and even then they don't give you the kudos that you deserve.
But that's not why you do it anyway.
No,
is it?
I know, but it's almost like, you know, it's not why you do it, but people sort of even I know that they look down their nose, they're like, oh yeah, of course you are, mate. Yeah, good on you. You know, like
especially in New Zealand, you know, we've got the whole tall poppy syndrome thing, and you know, we'd love to make ourselves feel better than the guy next door, and to, you know, come back down to my level and be with me, you know. So I think that's a massive. Well, I know it's a massive thing in New Zealand, but but I don't expect people to, you know, think I'm perfect, because I'm not perfect. But you know, especially because, you know, my story was in the media for so long, took me so long to overcome. But at the same time, you know, we've got to start working together rather than against each other, making each other feel like shit, because, you know, it's like the messages Mike King and Dave Lutelli are trying to get across. And
we just spoke to him, actually.
So true, bro. Like, it's just so true. It's like it's picking one another up rather than putting the boot in when they're on the way down. And like, you're right, we were really good as. I think New Zealand's getting better. I'd like to think we are. I'd like to think that human beings are getting better in general, you know, because you know, all the information that's out there now, and like, hey, look, everybody's an addict to a certain extent.
Well, that's what I was going to say too. It's not just a New Zealand thing. I think it's a human instinct to, like, you knock someone down because it's the ultimate way to deflect from yourself. Because if you've got something going on and it's like on par or resonates, so you're like, well, I don't want to be seen as that, so if I knock it, I'll be seen as like better than. So you often look at people who do that and go,
what's going on in your life?
Yeah, exactly.
So you can look at it with a bit more sort of kindness, I think.
But anyway, like, bro, like, I just want to say, like, your journey, like, just I haven't known a lot about your journey. Obviously, I've read a bit about you, clearly, you know, because it'd be impossible not to. But like, just where you are now and how you feel at the moment, like, I just feel like you're on a trajectory, on the right one, you know. So just keep going, bro. Like, just keep on going, mate. You know, like, and I'm super glad that you've mended, you know, the issues with your family, because, and you know, you've looked in the mirror and you've said, hey, because in the end it all comes back to you, right? That's it. Nobody else to blame except yourself.
100%.
I spoke at the beginning about like this is really a story of redemption, and do you think seeking redemption has been important for you? Like, is it something you've in your head thought, I want to work to amend, or to make right some wrongs? What does redemption look like for you, or is it even important?
I don't know if it's
maybe for yourself.
Yeah, for myself. Like, I think it's more redemption for myself and proving to myself that, you know, that even though, you know, this addiction was a big part of my life, you know, I can continue and can continue to overcome it, because I know I'm a much better person without it in my life. So that flows off into all other avenues when I'm away from addiction. You know, I'm able to help other people. I'm able to give genuine advice rather than bullshit advice. I'm able to be a better partner. I'm able to be a better son. I'm able to, you know, be a better. I don't call myself a boss. I hate calling myself a boss. I guess more like a mentor for my staff. Mentor for my staff, and then you know, I'm able to be a better coach, or a better. Well, I'm not really a good rugby player anymore, but a better version of myself in all areas.
Is that nagging in a dialogue with the imposter syndrome? Is it still there? And I mean, I'm sure it is with humans. And how do you deal with that now? How do you believe it? Or do you just say, shut the fuck up?
It is still there. The imposter syndrome is like, but I guess I can recognise that now. Like, you know, I get therapy every so often. I, you know, manage to communicate a bit more with my partner now and family and stuff. So I think that sort of helps, that I'm actually recognising what's going on. So like for instance, going to rugby at times, I feel like, I'm not going to be able to pass on the teachings that these boys need, and just all these questions of self-doubt, and I guess you could classify that as imposter syndrome. But once I'm there and I'm into it, and I'm coaching or passing on learnings, that feeling afterwards, like, I really gave back there. It might not have been perfect, but I managed to add value to not only just someone else's life, but that's helped me gain some confidence, and it's a feeling of giving back. So I guess said, if that makes sense.
No, it makes total sense, mate. Total sense. Well said. It's amazing.
Well, I think that's a really nice way to wrap it up.
Oh, bro, like, it's just such an inspiring story. Like, you've had a hard road, and like, you probably can there's only one person you can look at and blame for that hard road, right? But you're standing up. Yeah, exactly. But you've stood up, and you've taken it on the chin, and like it sounds really weird to say, mate, but because I hardly know you, but I'm really proud of you.
No, thanks, Ridgey.
No,
truly,
me too,
brother.
No.
Cheers, my brother.
I really am, mate. All the best, man. All the best. I really wish nothing but the best for you, and hope that that you just kick on from here.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. It's been.
Thank you for coming to have a chat to us.
Pleasure
being
talking.
so honest.
No, that's all good. I told bullshit for too long. It feels good being honest now.
It feels so good, right?
Yeah. Awesome,
Okay,
brothers. Thank you.
Bye.
See you, mate.